Hey everyone, let's dive right in. Welcome to this explainer on broker-dealer supervision and control. Now, before we jump into the absolute chaos of the compliance world, a really quick shout out to the folks who make this possible, CertFuel. If you're prepping for the Series 99, you've got to check out certfuel.com. They have a full course with adaptive study quizzes, smart flashcards, and unlimited practice exams weighted exactly like the real test. No stiff textbook reading, just what you need to pass. All right, let's step right into the compliance kitchen and meet the guy running the show, Sam the supervisor. Section 1. The system versus procedures. Now, Sam the supervisor runs a really tight ship, but keeping things afloat requires two totally distinct things: a system and a set of procedures. Test Day loves to try and trick you into confusing these, but they are absolutely not interchangeable. Picture a crazy busy restaurant kitchen. Your supervisory system is the actual living, breathing kitchen. It's the staff, the prep stations, who's working the grill, and all the live processes happening on the line. It organizes the people and the offices. But your written supervisory procedures, or WSPs, those are just the physical printed recipe book. It simply documents how the firm supervises its business. You literally can't serve food without the kitchen staff, but you need the recipe book to know what on earth you're cooking. Make sense? Okay, here's a scenario for you. Pause this explainer for a second and really think about it. If the firm explicitly assigns Sam the supervisor as the registered principal in charge of this whole kitchen, does he hold final responsibility if the place goes up in flames? Boom! Exam trap. The answer is a massive no. Final responsibility always remains with the firm. The test wants you to think assigning a registered principal, like Sam, magically transfers the firm's liability away. It doesn't. The firm takes the ultimate fall, no matter who's actually managing the floor. All right, Section 2. Updating and communicating WSPs. So what happens when our recipe book inevitably needs a rewrite? Well, updating the written supervisory procedures isn't just some annoying annual chore you schedule on a calendar. It's triggered by specific real-world events. You absolutely must promptly amend those WSPs if applicable securities laws change, if FINRA regulatory requirements change, or if the firm's internal supervisory system changes. Simply put, if you rearrange the actual kitchen, you have to update the recipe book to match. So the crucial takeaway here is understanding the whole life cycle of an update. Step 1, a change occurs. Step 2, you promptly amend the WSPs. But writing it down is literally only half the battle. Step 3 is that you then must promptly communicate that amendment to the associated persons whose activities actually make it relevant. Which brings us to another giant exam trap. Enter Ollie, the ops associate. Let's say the rules change for how trades are processed, and Sam updates the WSP binder sitting in his fancy office, but he never actually tells Ollie. Guess what? The firm fails the requirement. Just updating the central document without promptly communicating the change to the relevant people does not cut it. Ollie has to know. Section 3. The 3 and 2 retention rule. Let's pivot slightly to the pure mechanics of record keeping. We know Sam is officially supervising Ollie, but how long do we actually have to keep the paperwork proving Sam is the designated supervisor? 3 years. The firm must preserve the supervisory personnel record, which includes names and designation dates, for at least 3 years. Burn that number 3 into your brain right now. But wait, there is a second, very specific part to this rule. For the first 2 of those 3 years, those records must be kept easily accessible. So it's known as the 3 and 2 rule. Preserved for 3 years total, easily accessible for the first 2. Moving right along to Section 4, Annual Compliance Discussions. All right, so mandatory yearly catch-up time. Sam the supervisor and the rest of the team have to sit down and talk compliance. Here's exactly how these annual compliance discussions break down. Who has to attend? Every single registered representative and registered principal must participate at least annually. Now, the firm designates who conducts it, and it can actually be an individual interview or a big group meeting. But here is the absolute kicker. The topic focus must be on compliance matters that are relevant to each participant's actual day-to-day activities. You don't force Ollie the ops associate to sit through an hour-long discussion on underwriting rules if he literally only handles back-office settlements. It has to be relevant. Next up, Section 5, the CEO certification. Time to bring in the big boss. Meet Kara, the CEO. Every single year, Kara has to put her name on the line and sign an annual certification after sitting down with the Chief Compliance Officer. But what exactly is she signing? Well, here is the exact wording.
She certifies that the firm has processes to establish, maintain, review, test, and modify written compliance policies and WSPs. Notice anything standing out there? I really want you to stare at that word processes in all caps.
Because here comes the trap. On test day, they're going to bait you into thinking Kara, the CEO, is guaranteeing that no one broke a single rule all year long. False. No way. She is certifying processes, not perfect compliance. She is basically signing off that the machinery to supervise the firm exists and is functioning. She's not guaranteeing that human beings like Ollie or Sam ran a flawless, mistake-free operation. Don't fall for it.
Section 6. Rapid Fire Exam Recap.
Okay, you've survived the kitchen. Time for the gauntlet. Let's ditch everything else and blast through the absolute top testable points from this whole explainer at lightning speed. Point number 1. Separate the supervisory system from the written supervisory procedures. Remember, the system is the living, breathing structure, the actual kitchen. The WSPs are just the documents, the recipe book. They are not the same. Point number 2, final supervisory responsibility always remains with the firm. Sam manages the floor, sure, but the firm takes the ultimate fall. You literally cannot delegate away ultimate liability. Point number 3, drill these numbers into your head right now. You must preserve supervisory personnel records for 3 years, and you've got to keep them easily accessible for the first 2 years. 3 and 2. Point number 4, when rules or systems change, you must promptly amend the WSPs and promptly communicate them to relevant people. Updating the physical binders sitting on Sam's desk does absolutely nothing if Ollie the ops associate is left in the dark. And point number 5, Kara the CEO annually certifies processes, not perfect compliance. She signs off on the machinery, not a flawless operation. And remember, that certification doesn't replace the firm's continuing duty to actually enforce its rules. You've seen the traps, you know the cast of characters, and you understand the why behind the rules. So, knowing what you know now, are you ready to absolutely conquer the Series 99? Keep reviewing these key differences, don't let them trick you, and you're going to crush it. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and happy studying.